Say, a woman was interested in converting, you know, would you allow her to go through a virtual conversion where you assemble the Beit Din
There's no
online?
such thing as a virtual conversion. I'm not saying that it's not possible in the future if all the rabbis agree to it. But a good friend of mine, actually, the guy who I do conversions with, the rabbi who's the second of my Beit Din, he's looking into this and he wants to start a virtual Beit Din. I'm completely against it. Why? Here, look, we have a hard enough time getting our conversions recognized by at least 50% of the Jewish world. If we do this, then no one's going to recognize it. The last thing you want is to get some other rabbi, to say, I'm not recognizing the person you converted, his wife, his children, who they married from on and on, and they would have the right to do so. Right now, if we convert someone, just how the halakha says to Shulchan Aruch, the Rambam, the Gemara, I could tell them that there is no way they have a right to deny it as being unkosher, because we're following the sources. However, if we do some sort of virtual Beit Din conversion, they would be in the right to say that they don't accept it for themselves because it's never been done before. So that's really, I think, not caring about the person you're converting, because what you don't want to do is give the other person the right to say, I don't accept it. And if they don't accept it, they would be right in saying it because it's never been done before. I may think it's okay, but they have the right to say that they don't think it's okay. However, someone today cannot say that a conversion that I did or anyone else did, if we followed the proper procedure, that they don't accept it or it's done against halakha. If it's done how it's done and we recorded, and that's the way it appears in Masechet Yevamot and in Mishneh Torah and in Yoredea, no one could say it's unkosher. But right when you start saying, I perform conversions virtually, everyone I ever converted in the past is going to get labeled as having some virtual conversion, even though that wasn't the case. And they would just completely throw me under the bus for something that doesn't even have to be done. People really, in my opinion, shouldn't convert unless they have a Jewish community to be a part of. Now, they can convert without a Jewish community, but Jewish law doesn't say you have to live in a Jewish community, although that's what modern day rabbis teach. They won't convert you unless you live walking distance to a synagogue. There's really no law to attend the synagogue. It's a great thing. There's no obligation to. But it makes sense that there's no point to be Jewish if you're completely alone, unless you're forming your own community. And in that case, there's many rabbis who will travel out to convert you, just put money together. And it's not just me, like we don't charge, but I mean, there's even rabbis, there's many rabbis, but they charge. I think Rob Dror, I just started a conversion program, but he's charging. But no, with the notion of a virtual Beit Din, it's not a good idea, in my opinion.
And you think there's no way to justify it, even like in the future?
I'm not saying it's against halakha. I'm saying that being that it's never been done before, you're putting yourself and your converts in a position to not be accepted, and whoever would deny them as true valid converts would have the right to deny them. We can't force someone to accept something that we think it's true when it's never been done before. It might work, okay, but it's never been done before. So when it comes to conversion, there's many people walking around in the Jewish world today, I mean, probably the bulk, that are descendants of converts. All they have to do is invalidate one conversion going back 2, 3, 4 generations, and they'll invalidate hundreds of people. This is not something that I would want to play with. It's not so hard to do a regular conversion. Clearly, there's people in other countries that can't convert because the Beit Din is not physically there. But we can go wrong by sticking to the sources. And that's our only strength. That's my only strength in teaching Jewish law on YouTube, that I don't deviate from the source text. So they can't say that I'm making up something new. Now, I know that sometimes just going by the source text seems new because no one does it anymore. But if you can draw people back to what the source material says, then they don't have a right to write you off. But if you start doing something new, like performing conversions virtually, I mean, who does that benefit? Now, if the vast majority of rabbis got together and said, we're going to start doing this, and this is going to be the norm, then I do it too. It has become accepted as part of halakha. I mean, clearly, there wasn't computers back then.
That's interesting, Asher. I mean, I understand your argument completely, and it makes sense. But it's interesting, given that, to me at least, I see you as a pioneer. So it's interesting to hear your response. But I completely get it.
I don't think I'm doing anything contrary or different than the sages did. I believe that the sages in the Talmud also proselytized, and they encouraged people to be Jewish. Salo Baron, the big historian, said that 10% of the Roman Empire converted to Judaism because of proselytizing. Heck, even the New Testament, in terms of not accepting Kabbalah or Kabbalistic ideas as binding on all of Israel, there's many people, Rav Sadia Gaon, the Rav Hai Gaon, there's many people who teach what I teach. It's just most people don't do it nowadays, and people nowadays have one-track mind when it comes to Judaism. So it seems like I'm a pioneer, but things, even in religion, either confirm the obvious or are typically wrong. And that has always been my approach, not just to Judaism, but to religion in general. I mean, I wasn't born Jewish, but I think that if your heart is in the right spot and you're doing things for the right reasons, and heck, all of us who came from Christianity could count all that time as a Christian as part of our religious journey. If you just became Jewish last year, you're not religious for a year. You're religious from the day you started studying Torah and following the God of Israel. So if that's the case, we're probably a lot more religious than people who are very famous on YouTube and Facebook with teaching Torah, because all these YouTube rabbis are maybe 5-6 years religious. So I think that if you go in with a proper compass, a proper ethical compass, things that seem weird to you aren't going to stick. And that's how it was with me in Judaism. From the day I became Jewish, I knew that the job of someone who finds something good and special and meaningful in this world is to share it. I didn't need some rabbi to justify it. And all I had to do was just go into the Talmud and see that this is what they were doing all along. Why? Because it made sense. It ethically made sense. You had to be taught otherwise to think it was a bad idea. This is why I think that former Christians make the best Jews. Because we didn't come out of nowhere. We were searching for truth. Clearly that we were deprived of a Torah Jewish education, right? But our journey didn't begin here. It may seem like I'm a pioneer, but I still worship the same God of Israel that I did when I was a Christian. I just dropped JC. And I still have an urge and passion to make the world a better place. And I think that should come first when choosing to be religious or to live a religious life. And if that doesn't come first, all you're trying to do is just join a club and a gang. And that's how it is. Most people who become Orthodox, they buy the biggest black hat and the longest black coat, and they think that as long as they tell rabbis what they want to hear, like, oh, yeah, look, I just bashed Asher Meza yesterday. I made fun of him, this and that, and I know that most rabbis don't like him, so that's going to make me more likable. But that's not the point of choosing to become or remain religious. I mean, you guys must be following a different God.
Asher.
Yeah.
This is the reason why all these Noahide groups, Ger groups, all this, because exactly what you're talking about. That's the reason why they're there. That's why we got 50 million Noahide groups that maybe some of them wanted to, but somebody's playing game. And so if they give up, then they say, well, I'll just live as a Noahide.
I think the average person who calls themselves Noahides identifies with the Noahide movement, really just wants to be Jewish. And that's just the truth. Now, you may get a handful of diehard Noahides who like being a big fish in a little pond. Those people you won't change. But I think the average person who identifies with Noahidism just wants to be Jewish. I mean,
G'day.
it's just obvious.
Jake
Yeah.
from Australia. How are you?
Hey, Jake. What's up, man?
Going well. How about you?
Australian is such a happy accent.
It
You
is.
guys
We're
can't
happy
seem
over
pissed off. Yeah. Guys,